good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome indeed, yes, to a Thursday edition of the Mark Mosey Show podcast, as we're always broadcasting live from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Yes, call them today, 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. And to clarify before we get to Tim Walters, yes, I do have a gigantic zit on my face. I know this. It is from the stress of the Bears. I tried a new body wash. I don't know what happened. I am 43. Why am I still getting acne? And now let's go to Tim Walters. That's my press conference statement. Florida Today. Buddy, how you doing today?
How on earth am I supposed to follow that up? I mean, good Lord, the problems of puberty in your 40s, Mark. Good for you.
I have all these gigantic meetings with corporate guys in town right now. So it's like, well, I got to be on my game. Better get a nice haircut. Hey, I better wear some nice clothes. I better be ready. And then, hey, what's going on in Mark's face? Mark's pizza breath from high school. That's what's happened here. Or I'm sorry, pizza face. That's right.
Hey, I could recommend a good hair gel for you if you need it, though.
Oh, man, look. I'm at the haircut place. I'm like, look, I like my bangs. Don't cut them too short. No problem. Cuts them too short. Then I'm such a nice guy. I still got to give that tip. You know what I mean? I got it because they know it's me. Hey, it's Mark. It's that guy. Because you can't. This is very key. I know this has nothing to do with the Jaguars. Once you get a reputation as a public official, pretty much, you can't be cheap from a haircut. Because if you jip them on that tip, they're going to tell every single person they know. So that's what I live in. Sorry, I have to tell you that. Okay.
Well, and the other thing is, Mark, so, my forehead, I've always had kind of a big forehead, hairline's hanging in there. But I often ask myself, if I start to get the hair cul-de-sac there, do I just shave it? Do you want to look like, Peter Boyle? Do you go, what do you do there? Does anyone know who Peter Boyle is anymore?
Kojak? Is that who that? No.
That's Telly Savalas. He was bald. Oh. I'm talking about Frank Barone, the dad from Everybody Loves Raymond. He was also Frankenstein in Young Frankenstein in the early 70s. Do I need to go older than that? No, he was in the Santa Claus movies. So, pretty famous guy.
What did you say? Bald cul-de-sac? That'll be the name of your rock band at Welcome to Rockville.
The hair cul-de-sac, where it looks like, you got the... I don't know where you're bald on top, but you still got the party around here. I don't know.
Right. If you're in this band, you got to have that hair. You can't show up with Steven Tyler's hair. That's part of the gimmick. That's what Kiss has the makeup. You have that haircut. If you're
hair cul-de-sac. All right. Gotcha.
We're opening up for Primus in Orlando. I'm laughing. Okay. The Jaguars lost. I'm sorry. I know we went fun there, but
this is a sports show. What?
That is. I feel like I said this on another show this morning. I think the Jaguars should send flowers to that reporter that stole all the headlines. No one's even talking about the Jaguars blowing this game against the Bills at home. They're just talking about this reporter. And did she do the right thing by giving a pep talk to Liam Cohen? So I think she's the MVP. She needs. It's so stupid. We'll get to that in a second. What happened to the Jaguars, buddy?
I mean, just playoff inexperience is really what happened. I didn't like the call in the first half where you're up 7-3 and you decide to go for it on 4th and 2. And then, you could have been up a touchdown just by kicking a short field goal. So I didn't like that call. But, okay, you go for it on 4th and 2. I didn't like the call there with Trevor Lawrence coming around the side and trying to run it the way he did. I think they were running the ball effectively. You could have gone ETN. You could have gone LaQuint Allen. There, I just would have liked to have seen a better play call on that one, because Trevor, he's good at stretching across the line because he's like a baby giraffe, as I often say. But, he in this instance, I wasn't a big fan of the play, but I would have just taken the points. Later on that night, if you were watching the Patriots game, the Chargers early in the game decide, instead of kicking a field goal, to go for it. They don't get it. And then what do the Patriots do on the next drive? They kick a field goal and take a 3-0 lead. I don't understand some of this. I know there are analytics and metrics and numbers, and, people have NORAD computing things for them. But me, in that situation, I'd rather be up 7 than risk it and only be up 4, which way they were. Then they miss a field goal before the half. They ultimately lose by 3 points. So to me, that's big early. In the second half, they just couldn't stop Josh Allen. That they had completely thwarted the run game. So Josh Allen decided, I'm just going to throw 0 and 1 yard routes to Khalil Shakir and let him run it 12 yards. That became their run game. He had 8 catches and almost 100 yards. So, the Jaguars were prepared to stop the straight up run, but they weren't prepared for the swing pass. So, Josh Allen, look, he had lost in this situation multiple times in the past. And this time he finally got over the hump. Trevor Lawrence, this is really his only second shot in the playoffs. The first time they were getting absolutely throttled and then came back somehow and won. I think it's that Saturday night game spot as your Bears found the other night. That's the time to make big comebacks. But, Trevor Lawrence it'll come with experience. I think this is a team built for a few playoff runs. And moving forward, I think that he'll be able to, learn from what happened here. But ultimately, Josh Allen, the MVP, the superhero, put the whole team, put the whole town of Buffalo on his back and carried him through, and then threw the Jaguars through the table, just like the Bills fans do.
All right. Tell me about the reporter.
Yeah, so after the game, the very sweet lady gives a pep talk to Coach Cohen and tells him, to hold his head up high, young man, and said he saved the city. Let's save that for fan events. If you have a journalism credential, and people have debated this back and forth, it also shows me that the general public doesn't fully understand what journalists are supposed to do in a press conference like that, because a lot of people are on the side of the lady. But, I just say, imagine what would happen if, let's say, Ron DeSantis got done with a presser and somebody said, Ron, thanks for saving the state. You're doing such a great job. People would lose their minds about it because this is sports and the lady said something nice to the coach, but that's not the time or place for it. I think journalism professors all over the country hung their head in shame, and they can't revoke her credential because she's a lady saying something nice to a dejected coach. But again, not the time, not the place, and not what a professional journalist is supposed to do in a press conference. So I'm not a curmudgeonly person. Again, I don't dislike this woman. Very nice lady, good what she did, but just not a big fan of how it went down. And some of the journalists that spoke out about this have absolutely been crushed and lambasted about it.
Okay. All right. Let's go over this because we've both been in 10,000 press conferences for news and sports. I have said, hey, tough loss, coach. Now, I've said that for a second. Hey, I know you guys lost, but what happened? Or okay, 1 or 2 words I'm okay with. If you just said it because you're trying to open them up a little. So what are your, how would you have handled that? Have you ever, because what do you do in those situations?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, she never really had a question, did she? She just puffed him up and we moved on. Instead, you ask the coach, hey, coach, it's a tough loss. I know you're still trying to process it, but, what's on your mind right now? It's not like we're like, give us your grief. It's just like, maybe he wants to lament about that non-going for the field goal, or maybe he didn't like a call he did. You want to get his genuine thoughts about what happened in the game, because that's why you're there, again, as a journalist in a press conference. These are things we're taught in J school. Mark, 20 years ago when the Expos first came to Brevard County, after the Marlins left, and I was covering spring training, Frank Robinson was their manager. 586 home runs. I could recite his stats. He was a hero. I would have loved to have said, Frank, I think you're wonderful. Can I have your autograph? They would have snatched the press credential from around my neck and kicked me out of there forever. You can't do that. So, I mean, and again, you wouldn't see that in a press conference with the governor, or, I was joking yesterday in a meeting. I'll be up there for the Players Championship in March in Jacksonville. Now, Imagine if Brooks Koepka's up there and this same lady steps up and goes, Brooks, good job coming back to the PGA. I just think it's so nice that you've decided to leave Live Golf. It's I guess you could say it's encouraging behavior, not of a journalism standard, because yes, she said something nice, but now somebody sees and says, boy, look at the attention she got for saying she's nice. Now somebody tackles Liam Cohen or something crazy like that. And then, it's like, there's a reason they don't show streakers on the TV. There's a reason this type of thing shouldn't go on.
I like what you said. Did she even ask a question? Now I'm thinking about that as like, hey, if you're going to do that, at least ask a question. like, hey, why'd you guys lose the game? That I don't. It's interesting what you said because I keep thinking about this. Most press conferences are forgettable because the coach or the player, they give you the fluff answers. They do. So most of them, whatever, you don't even remember. But you remember this. These stand out. That's why I always joke, like when Allen Iverson said, we talk about practice. You remember that. So there's kind of this point of like, you want them to say something. You want them angry. You want them to say, because you're looking for those headlines. See, I go back and forth. Hey, if she doesn't say that, no one even cares about the Liam Cohen press conference. And I feel bad saying that as a guy that's been in press conferences, Tim. I'm sorry. I do.
Yeah, and journalists should never make the story about themselves. And
Yeah.
maybe she didn't mean for it to happen that way, but it did. And again, she said something nice, but now again, attention is a currency more than money nowadays. And now we've got to wait to see what the next journalist does in a press conference. Imagine the Bills lose and Sean McDermott's up there and somebody in Buffalo says, hey, Sean, I'd like you to tell you to hold your head up, but you stink in the playoffs. Why don't you get out of town? People are going to react in a different way, but it's the same type of behavior in speaking out and doing something that's not of journalistic behavior. So, maybe I should become a professor. Maybe I'm an old guy shaking fist at cloud, but I just wasn't a big fan of what happened.
All right. This is why journalism matters, because they're asking the questions the public can't ask. They want those answers. You have to make sure you have independent people who don't work for the organizations. Like, it's good you and me don't work for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If they were in charge of all media availability and the message, well, they could just say, hey, we made the playoffs. What are you talking about? Yeah, we saw the game. You lost. No, we won. I don't care what you saw. Nope, that we're in charge. So I'm with you. You got to make sure that these facts are told and that you understand what's fake. Dude, we've talked about this before. Go on Facebook. There are AI fake headlines everywhere now. Everywhere. It's insane. With the ones that really grind my gear, that's a Peter Griffin term I like to use for Family Guy. I hate when you have like somewhat journalists, I don't know. It's like they'll take a quote. Let's say you interviewed someone, all right? They'll steal the headline and then they'll make it their own thing, and then they're getting thousands of views, and they're not even, they don't even have authorization to use the photos either. It's completely the Wild West with all these things. I know I'm venting. Maybe no one cares, but I want you to know that.
No. And Mark, that's why I tell people it's so important about things like your local newspaper and your legitimate news sources. You have to know the difference, because you're right. Facts do matter. If you haven't, Google after you listen to Mark and I talk. I want everyone out there to Google North Korea world map, because it was released earlier this week that North Korea teaches its people that it's this massive, gigantic country. They basically took a world map and flipped it upside down, and all of a sudden it was like a big part of China, and it was on top of the world. They're teaching people this because they don't allow other facts in that matter. And Mark, even with Florida today, I get all the time, and I don't even do news or stuff like that. Oh, you're a liberal rag. And I will say to people, factually show me what is incorrect in our reporting about the story you're talking about. And no one ever can, because they just disagree with the issue that's going on, and they automatically assume we're taking a side. But all we're doing is saying, hey, this took place. Here's who said what. And then you're supposed to decide. We're not TV. We do have an opinion section, so people have to know the difference. But with that, but just because we write about an issue doesn't mean we're taking that side. It means we are informing the general public. And if you can factually find something wrong, email me directly, and I will take care of it. Can we get back to talking about hair cul-de-sacs?
Yeah, we could if you want. And that's why in the paper it says opinionated column. It's opinion. Yeah. Hey, when I was in the news department, there's a rule. You can't do endorsements. You have to be neutral on everything. You cannot. Now, me as a talk show host, I could, hey, go to this car dealership, right? I could become that guy. But in the news department, if I'm just telling you what's going on, no, you can't do none of that. So What I'm trying to say is, hey, keep your head up. I know it's a tough year for you. I hope you, Tim, you're a great guy. Keep your head up, buddy. I know it's a tough loss for you, but you're going to do better. All right.
Yeah, nobody consoled me. I was hoping to go to the Super Bowl to cover the Jaguars, and now I'm into the off season, Mark. So, but we do have we got some great things coming up that I wouldn't mind mentioning too, because the Super Bowl coin is minted here. So you and I, we both every year interview Vince Bobot, the great president of the Highland Mint there in O'Galley. A lot of people don't realize since the early '90s, there's one there, Mark. Yeah, I've got one myself. The early '90s, they started printing the coin, and they've done it ever since. So we do that. I've got a story coming out on on Sunday, Mark, looking at the Super Bowl venues. This year it's in Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara near San Francisco. I tell you where it is the next few years after that, but then I prognosticate a few years out and look at some of the stadiums. I break down some of the numbers. Here's the drought of Florida in between Super Bowls and things like that. So make sure that you read that. I've got another one, Mark. You're going to love this. Actually, we could discuss this if you want. On Monday, my fix for the college football playoff comes out.
Here we go. All right. Does it involve Ric Flair? Does it like what do you
No, Mark.
Oh, we have to read it. You can't know maybe you could like tease it. Don't tell us all.
I'll give you the abridged, the short version, to quote Spaceballs. I am going to take all the teams in college football. We are going to have 8 16-team divisions.
Okay.
And the top 2 teams of each plays for a conference championship that is the first round of the playoffs. So that's how you get to 16. That's how you make conference championships matter again. And we also split up some old rivalries into different conferences because I don't want them in the first round every year. I want themselves playing deeper. And then that would take 128 teams. And right now there's 136 in college football. Well, we're going to have to remove 8. But there will be relegation for the bottom 8 teams each year. So those teams have a chance to get back into D1. So, Mark, that is my short version. I think I've done a great job. I really thought this through. I'm sure it'll go nowhere because college football cares more about money and those type of things rather than making sense. But please read that on Monday.
I will. And I think Ric Flair should be the commissioner of this. That's what needs to happen. Dude, I saw a headline this morning where they're like, yeah, maybe they're discussing we'll go to 24 teams. No, it's too long now anyway. I'm kind of, dude, I just play the game tonight. I'm so like in NFL playoffs that I'm just kind of like over it with Indiana. Like, I know they're going to play Indiana, Miami. It's one of our teams here in Florida, but like, are you excited for the game? I'm kind of like, whatever at this point.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I wish it started at 5:30 so I could watch all of it because Lord knows I'm not going to be up when that game ends. I don't have a dog in that fight, so I'm just going to read about it the next morning.
It's a federal holiday on Monday. Play it earlier in the day. Who cares? Look, I don't care about West Coast viewers. It's 2 East Coast time zone teams. Who cares? I don't get this like, got to make sure people in Portland, Oregon get I don't care about them. Okay,
well, and Mark, I'll share one other little nugget here in my CFP fix column. Let's say with a round of 16, and if you've noticed, every time one of these teams wins a CFP game, they get a trophy. By the end, the champion could end up with 4 trophies. Yes. So what if they progressively not only got bigger, but the more you win, each one plugs into the next until the final one tops it off, and you have one gigantic trophy that all 3 form. So if you're a fan of Voltron or the Combiners and Transformers, kind of like that, where they just continue to plug into each other until they form something massive. What do you think of that idea?
You don't even care about the games. You just want to see the Transformer trophy. That's what you want. Like, we'll be at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. I don't know if you've ever been there before, but they have like all these trophies on display, glass case. Yeah, people would pay to see this thing.
Yeah. Now, Mark, right now, one of your viewers is sitting there thinking to themselves, this guy just lectured us about journalism, and now he wants the trophies to plug into each other. Yes, my mind works that way, left and right brain.
All right, we're going to go to SEC Media Days. in Tampa this summer, and the commissioner, Greg Sankey, I believe his name is, you need to like get up there. Yes, I have a question. When is the Transformer Trophy? When is that going to start? Okay. Huh? And you're like, I have diagrams if you'd like to review them with me afterwards. But hey, at least you asked the question. All right. That's what it's about. So you're going to be a busy bee where, all right, NFL playoffs, Super Bowl, college football national championship game, Daytona 500. You have to go to the Players Championship in Jacksonville, right? We're going to have spring training. Yeah, you're going to be a busy man, buddy.
And don't forget, Mark, it's not just about that stuff. I mean, the thing that is most viewed by us is high school sports. And look, we got boys and girls district soccer and basketball coming up shortly. Starting Monday, the 19th, we begin with our all Space Coast teams. We have 11 of them this year, Mark. It's the most ever because of how many sports we have now this year. We start with girls and boys swimming Monday and Tuesday as we roll on. And I don't have the order in front of me, but you've got volleyball, boys and girls bowling, football, offense and defense, golf, boys and girls. I mean, we got 11 all Space Coast teams. It's going to take us two weeks almost to run all those. So please start looking out for them. We really pour through all the high school stats myself and our really good high school reporter, Chastity Banks. She does the main legwork on all of this and does a wonderful job. So those start rolling out Monday. So, from every level, high school, college, professional, it's all here, Mark.
That's great stuff. I'm sorry the Jaguars are not playing this weekend. All right. But my team is. And we're going to win. All right. Everyone keeps coming up to me and they're like, yeah, Rams are going to win. I go, yeah? What time does your team play? And then I just walk away. All right. That's my Ric Flair hate talk for you. All right. Now, have I aged 50 years in the last couple of weeks? Yes, I have. All right. Is it like, let's come out and run the ball? Let's do it. Just start the game in the third quarter. Make us down 14. Then just kick the ball off. Just do that.
That's it. I heard one of the NFL analysts, I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I can't remember exactly who said this, but they said there's only one team that if they're down 10 points in the fourth quarter, I believe have a chance to come back and win this weekend, and it's the Bears. So there you go. Believed in by prognosticators everywhere.
Yeah, I'm calling it the Bears versus the NFC West Invitational. All right. So they should ask America, what would you want to see? The craziness of the Bears or one of these boring teams from the Western time zone? Or I'm sorry, Pacific time zone. You know my answer. All right. I'm ready. And I hope you're ready as well. He's Tim Walters, Florida Today. My man, thanks for your help and have a great day. All right.
Right. I appreciate it. And I love it when a plan comes together.